Every listening test has multiple choice questions. There are two types of these. The first type is you read the stem and then choose an answer from maybe 3 or 4 options. The second type is a longer list of options and you have to choose maybe 3 or 4 of the answers from there. In any case, as in any part of the IELTS test, you should read the instructions carefully so you know exactly how many answers you need to choose. Let's look at the first kind of multiple choice question. For multiple choice questions, you're given time before each set of questions to read them. Use the time you have to underline keywords in the stem of the question and in the options. Sometimes it helps to make the stem a question, as this helps you to listen for the answer to that particular question. But the most important tip I believe in listening is to look out for traps. You may underline a keyword in the question and hear the same word in the recording and think, this is my answer, but this is very likely to be a trap. Often the answer is a synonym of the word in the question. Let's look at this example. The students should contact Angela Pease when? So I make the stem a question. When should students contact Angela Pease? This helps me to focus on the answer to the question. When they have health problems, need to diet, or they can't eat the local food. The recording says, you may have problems because you don't like the local food, and this can affect your health and studies. Angela Pease is our dietary representative in the Student Health and Welfare Department, and you should contact her. So we hear many of the words in the options, but are they the answer or are they traps? Look at A. You may have problems because you don't like the local food, and this can affect your health and studies. A says they have health problems. Does it say here, this is when they should contact Ms. Pease? We see the word health, but that's not when they should contact her. B, when they need to diet. The recording mentions dietary representative, but again, is that when they should contact her? Does that say they should contact her? The answer is C, when they can't eat the local food. Here's another example. First, we read the stem and underline keywords. Agree, worst thing living in Britain, and the options, the cost, the studies, the meals. Well, now the question asks, when should the students agree that the worst thing about living in Britain was the cost, the studies, the meals. Well, now for my final question. What was the worst thing about living in Britain? The horrible food, the work, everything costs so much, more work. The weather, seriously though, it's got to be the amount you have to spend just to survive here. Britain is certainly not cheap. I agree. That's the main problem. Yeah, we've all had problems making ends meet. So you see again, we heard many distractors. Food is a synonym to meals. But only Philippe believes that's the worst thing. Work is a synonym for studies, but the question asks, what do all students agree on? And only Mareka believes the work is the worst thing. The question asks, what do they all agree on? And the answer is cost. They all agree at the end that the cost is the worst thing about living in Britain. Sometimes you may be unsure of the answer, but don't leave a blank, especially in multiple choice questions. There's no negative marking. In other words, you won't lose a mark for a wrong answer. So eliminate unlikely answers and make an educated guess. That means Put the most logical answer. Look at this question. Hannah's discussing a new apartment she's just rented. Look at the stem. Hannah is discussing a new apartment she's just rented, and the stem says at the moment Hannah is living. Hannah is living. Look at the options: in a hostel, in a suitcase, in a hotel, in a flat. And the recording says, I can't face looking anymore. I want a place where I can put my things instead of living out of a suitcase. I don't want to live in this hotel anymore. We heard suitcase mentioned, but is it likely she's living in a suitcase? Highly unlikely, isn't it? So even if we didn't hear the answer, we can probably eliminate B, a suitcase. So you can see again, you may hear the word that's in the option, but that's likely to be a trap, as it was here. Listening is full of traps. The answer, of course, is C, in a hotel. Now for the second type of multiple choice questions. In this type of question, you must choose 2, 3, or 4 answers from a longer list. Once again, be careful to read the instructions so you know how many answers you need. Many of the options will contain traps and sound similar, so you must be careful to hear synonyms for all the words, not just one word, which is in the option. Listen to this example. You must choose 3 of the following options which are mentioned in connection with 20th century housing in the East End. Listen to the transcript. At the beginning of the century, living conditions for the majority of working people in East London were very basic indeed. Houses were crowded closely together and usually very badly built because there was no regulation. But the poor and needy were attracted by the possibility of work, and they had to be housed. It was the availability rather than the condition of the housing that was a major concern for tenants and landlords alike. Did you hear the traps? We heard landlords, but did it say anything about unsympathetic landlords? We heard houses were crowded closely together. Is that the same as overcrowding? Overcrowding is to do with people, isn't it? We heard houses were usually badly built. Could that be an answer? Well, that's one of our options, isn't it? Poor standards of building, which is a synonym for houses badly built. So F is an answer. Let's move on. Few houses had electricity at this time, so other sources of power were used, like coal for the fires, which heated perhaps just one room. Of course, the smoke from these contributed a great deal to the air pollution for which London used to be famous. Did you hear the traps again? We heard about the fires. Fires, does that mean, did it say though that houses catching fire? Did we hear anything about that? No, we didn't. We heard though that a few houses had electricity and coal was used for fires which heated just one room. So what is a synonym for that? Possibly C, isn't it? Heating problems if the fires just heated one room. But there was nothing about houses catching fire. Now for the third option. A tiny, damp, unhealthy house like this might be well occupied by 2 full families, possibly including several children, grandparents, aunts and uncles. So now we hear the third option. Which one is it? Unsympathetic landlords, unclean water, high rents. There's nothing about that. Overcrowding. Could that be an answer? Well, yes, it could, because it talked about how 2 full families were occupying one tiny, damp, unhealthy house. So the answers here are C, E, and F. You will notice in listening that the speaker will sometimes correct himself or change the answer. They may spell a word wrong and then correct it, or say a telephone number wrong and correct it. So be prepared for this. This is a typical example of a correction. What's your number? 020-7989-7182. Hold on. 020-7979. No, it's 7989 and then 7982. So it's 020-7989-7182. Yes, that's it. So you see, don't be in a hurry to write down the answer, or be prepared to change your answer. This is another example about how you might have to change the answer. Look at the question, when will they meet? On Wednesday in the afternoon or on Thursday, 7 p.m. And the recording goes, so I'll see you on Wednesday afternoon. Sorry, I'm busy then. What about Thursday evening? Fine, Thursday at 7 o'clock. So once again, you can hear the tracks. The first speaker mentions Wednesday and afternoon, but those were both traps. The second speaker suggested Thursday evening, and the first one agreed. So the answer is C, Thursday, 7 p.m.